Part 1. Into the Shadow, the unseen battle for your soul. Have you ever felt an invisible weight on your chest? Not physical, but emotional, spiritual. You wake up and the light outside feels dimmer, even though the sun is shining. You walk through your day, but something you can't name drags behind you like a shadow with fingers. This isn't depression. This isn't exhaustion. This is a dark spirit testing you. And if you're watching this right now, it means you were meant to hear these words. This video found you not by accident, but by divine design. Because something in your soul already knows you are under spiritual attack. You may not see the dark spirit. You may not hear it. But you feel it. You feel it in the hesitation that paralyzes your dreams, in the confusion that clouds your mind, in the fights you keep having with loved ones for reasons you don't even understand, and in the way your passions, your purpose begin to fade like a dying fire. These are not coincidences. These are spiritual signs, and a dark energy is watching, waiting, and most of all, whispering. Let me take you deeper. Imagine a person who has been meditating every day for years. They are calm, grounded, and filled with peace. But then, suddenly, their meditations become chaotic. Their once clear visions become murky, filled with strange faces, unknown symbols, and a deep sense of dread. They begin to doubt everything, their path, their intuition, their connection to the divine. Why? Because a dark spirit has sensed their light growing too bright, and darkness always tries to extinguish what it fears. Have you ever wondered why your life seems to fall apart just when you're about to make a breakthrough?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
You see, dark spirits do not waste their time on those who are not a threat. If you are being tested, it means your light is strong. It means your soul holds power. And that's why you must be aware of these 7 signs, not just to protect yourself, but to rise above. Because this is not a punishment. This is a calling. A sacred trial to refine your spirit into something unshakable. And if you make it through the fire, nothing, not even the darkest force, will be able to stop you. The first spiritual sign is isolation. Not just physical, but spiritual isolation. You begin to feel cut off from others, from your higher self, from God. Conversations feel hollow. Relationships begin to crumble. The people you once trusted suddenly feel like strangers. But here's the deeper truth. The dark spirit is not separating you from others. It is trying to make you believe you are already alone. Because once you believe that lie, you become vulnerable. Vulnerable to fear. Vulnerable to despair. Vulnerable to manipulation. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly connected to someone, not just emotionally, but soul to soul? The second sign is confusion. A fog enters your mind. You begin to question everything, even your most sacred truths. Your intuition feels broken. You can't tell if the voice inside is guidance or deception. You start making decisions from fear, not faith. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you lose trust in yourself. But here is the hidden wisdom. Confusion is a sign that clarity is being forged, like the chaos before creation. The Spirit is testing whether you will anchor yourself in truth or drift into illusion. The question is, Will you pause long enough in silence to hear the deeper voice beneath the noise? The third sign is the distortion of time. You feel like you're running out of time, yet everything feels stuck. Days blur together. Moments that should feel joyful pass you by like ghosts. The dark spirit wants you to feel rushed, anxious, like you're falling behind in life. But why? Because when you're in panic, you can't be present. And when you're not present, you miss the sacred messages being sent to you in the now. The present moment is where your power lives. If the enemy can pull you into fear of the future or regret of the past, it has already won. Have you ever felt like time was slipping away, and yet you had nowhere to go? The fourth sign is spiritual fatigue. You try to pray, but the words feel empty. You try to meditate, but your mind won't stop racing. You try to connect with nature, but even the trees feel distant. This is not laziness. This is not failure. This is a spiritual battle. The dark spirit drains your energy not through force, but through subtle erosion, one broken ritual at a time. One skipped prayer. One night of sleep lost to scrolling. It knows that if it can wear down your spirit slowly, you won't even notice it happening. So what do? We awaken. We become watchers of our own thoughts. We become still enough to hear the spirit behind the spirit. Because every attack is also an invitation to deepen your practice, to test the roots of your faith, to ask yourself, am I building my life on sand or on stone? The dark spirit cannot thrive where there is conscious awareness. Its power lies in the unconscious, the habits, the distractions, the numbness. So we must bring light to what is hidden. The fifth sign is dreams turning into nightmares. Not always literal dreams, but the visions you once held close to your heart, the goals, the callings, the sacred desires. They begin to feel unreachable, or worse, irrelevant. You lose the fire, the passion, and eventually you forget why you even started. But listen closely. That dream was given to you for a reason. It is not your dream, it is your assignment. And the dark spirit knows that if it can make you abandon that dream, it can delay the transformation of many others who are waiting for your light. The sixth sign is heightened emotional chaos. You become easily triggered. Small things lead to big reactions. Old wounds reopen. You feel like you're regressing. But this is not regression, it is excavation. The dark spirit is not just attacking you, it is trying to make you attack yourself. To make you believe that you are still broken, still unworthy, still that wounded child. But here's the truth, the wound is where the light enters. And when chaos rises, it is often because the soul is preparing for ascension. The question is, will you let your emotions control you, or will you learn to transmute them into power? And finally, the seventh sign is the illusion of meaninglessness. Life begins to feel pointless. You question the purpose of everything, the work, the relationships, even existence itself. This is the darkest place, the void, but it is also the most sacred, because all true awakenings begin in the void. When everything is stripped away and you are left with nothing but your awareness, that is when you finally see who you truly are. Not the roles, not the stories, but the eternal witness, The soul behind the eyes. What if the feeling of meaninglessness was not a curse, but a doorway? Now, I want you to pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, which of these signs have I seen in my own life? Which of these has been calling me, testing me, shaping me? And what if, just what if, this dark spirit was not sent to destroy me, but to awaken me? You see, we often think that spiritual warfare is about angels and demons fighting in another realm. But the real war is inside, between the part of you that wants to stay asleep and the part of you that is desperate to wake up. The dark spirit is the catalyst, the pressure, the necessary shadow that sharpens your light. It is not your enemy, it is your initiator. And once you understand that, you stop running. You start listening. You realize that every test is a mirror. And, my friend, the mirror is sacred. The deeper truth is this: you are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are being purified. You are being positioned to carry a frequency that this world desperately needs. And the dark spirit knows that. That's why it's testing you. Because on the other side of this darkness is a version of you so powerful, so radiant, so aligned that it will change everything. The world is waiting for that you. But first, you must pass through the fire. Part 2, the shadow knows your name, how darkness finds the chosen. You didn't stumble into this battle. You were born into it. The moment your soul chose to incarnate with purpose, the moment you agreed on a level deeper than memory to bring light into this world, the dark spirit marked you. Not to destroy you, but to watch you, to test you. Because darkness always studies the ones who carry the light. And the greater your purpose, the more subtle and cunning the resistance becomes. You may wonder why your life has been so hard, why you've had to endure so much pain. But what if that pain was not a curse, but a sign that you are chosen? The dark spirit doesn't come for the weak. It comes for the ones who are close to waking up, close to rising, close to remembering. And so it wraps itself in familiar voices, familiar patterns, even familiar people. It doesn't always enter with fear, it often enters through familiarity, through the wounds you never healed, through the habits you never faced, through the silence you never broke. Have you ever looked at your own life and realized that the biggest enemy you face wears your own face? Let's go deeper. When the dark spirit tests you, it doesn't just attack your life, it attacks your identity. It whispers lies so softly, you begin to call them your truth. I'll never be enough. No one loves me. I'm too broken to change. These are not thoughts. These are spiritual implants, seeds of doubt planted in your energetic field. And if you don't question them, if you don't confront them, they grow into vines that choke your purpose. So I ask you now, what stories about yourself have you accepted without ever asking where they came from? The second layer of this test is distraction, not in the obvious ways, not just through devices or entertainment, but through busyness, through overthinking, through constantly fixing others so you never have to face yourself. The dark spirit loves to keep you busy because a busy soul is a disconnected soul, and a disconnected soul cannot access divine truth. That's why silence is so terrifying to many. They're afraid of what they'll hear. But silence is where the divine speaks. And the dark spirit fears what happens when you finally sit still long enough to listen. Now, let's talk about energy. Your energy field is like a sacred temple. But most people walk through life with open doors and no guardians. Every conversation, every scroll, every thought is an energetic transaction. And dark spirits thrive in unconscious transactions. They don't always possess, they influence. They ride waves of fear, anger, lust, jealousy. They amplify what is already unresolved. So if you've noticed yourself feeling heavy after being around certain people, if your mood shifts without cause, if your dreams are haunted by strange symbols, that's not just your imagination. That's spiritual interference. And you must learn to protect your field. Spiritual hygiene is not a luxury, it's survival. Just as you would never walk barefoot through fire, you shouldn't walk through life energetically exposed. Cleanse yourself daily, through prayer, through breath work, through sacred sound. Smudge your space. Speak light into your home, all in your guides. And most importantly, set intention. Because intention is armor. The dark spirit cannot penetrate a soul that walks with conscious devotion. But how often do we forget to shield ourselves before stepping out into the world? Let's return to the signs. One of the most overlooked is the sudden return of past temptations. The addiction you thought you overcame. The toxic person you finally walked away from. The mindset you buried years ago. They return not because you failed, but because you're close to transcending the cycle entirely. The dark spirit knows that when you're almost free, it only takes one moment of weakness to pull you back into the loop. So it sends the test at your most vulnerable hour, late at night, during heartbreak, in isolation. That's why spiritual vigilance must become your lifestyle, not your emergency button. You must become a watcher of your own energy. Because the dark spirit doesn't just want to steal your light, it wants you to extinguish it yourself. And it does this not by force, but by convincing you to shrink, to dim, to stay silent. It tells you that shining too brightly will make others uncomfortable, that your truth is too much, that your gifts are inconvenient. But here's the deeper truth. Your light was never meant to blend in. It was meant to disrupt, to awaken, or to provoke. So if your presence triggers the darkness in others, it means your frequency is doing its job. But let's not pretend this journey is easy. Light work is lonely. Awakening is violent to the ego. And spiritual growth often feels like spiritual death. You will lose people. You will lose versions of yourself. You will lose illusions that once comforted you. But in that loss, you gain everything real, everything eternal, everything sacred. The dark spirit doesn't test you to break you. It tests you to see if you're ready to meet your soul. Are you? Sometimes the most powerful sign that you're under attack is not chaos, but numbness, apathy, a dullness of spirit. You stop craving meaning. You stop asking questions. You stop seeking. That's when the dark spirit has its strongest grip, not when you're in pain, but when you feel nothing at all. But here's the paradox. Even in that numbness, your soul is still whispering, still longing, still waiting. The ember never dies. It only waits for breath. And you, my friend, are the breath. Let me tell you a secret. Every spiritual master you admire has been tested by darkness, some more than once. They've walked through shadow valleys. They've been stripped of everything. They've been betrayed, abandoned, misunderstood. And yet they rose, not because they were fearless, but because they chose faith over fear, devotion over doubt, stillness over chaos. And you are no different. You carry the same divine code, the same spark, the same potential. But potential means nothing without choice. So what will you choose? When the shadow shows up again, and will you run or will you rise? Will you numb or will you notice? Will you hide or will you heal? These are not rhetorical questions. Your soul is listening. Your ancestors are watching. Your future self is waiting for the moment you stop negotiating with your smallness. Waiting for the moment you realize that the dark spirit has never had power over you. It only ever had permission. So what will you choose? When the shadow shows up again, and will you run or will you rise? Will you numb or will you notice? Will you hide or will you heal? These are not rhetorical questions. Your soul is listening. Your ancestors are watching. Your future self is waiting for the moment you stop negotiating with your smallness. Waiting for the moment you realize that the dark spirit has never had power over you. It only ever had permission. And now, I want to give you something practical. When you feel the signs when isolation, confusion, fatigue, or chaos arise, pause. Don't react. Observe. Say out loud, I see you. I will not fear you. You are not me. Do you know how powerful that is? Just naming the energy disrupts its influence. Because awareness is exorcism, you don't need more rituals. You need more presence. And the more present you become, the more powerless darkness becomes. But don't stop there. Journal your experiences. Track the patterns. Notice what triggers the signs and become a spiritual detective, because every sign is a breadcrumb leading you back to your power. And remember, the dark spirit is not creative. It repeats the same tactics. So once you learn its language, you can anticipate its moves. You can turn the test into a training. And eventually, the test becomes your teacher. And maybe, just maybe, you become the teacher for someone else. Because there are souls out there going through what you've survived. And they are waiting for your voice, your story, your wisdom. Don't let the dark spirit silence you. Let it sculpt you. Let it refine you. Let it prepare you for the sacred responsibility of being a light bearer in a darkening world. Let this truth sink into your bones. You are not fragile. You are fire. You are not lost. You are being led. And you are not under attack because you're weak, but because you're rising. This is your initiation. This is your reckoning. This is the moment the dark spirit realizes it underestimated you. Part 3: The light that darkness fears, becoming untouchable in spirit. There is a moment in everyone's spiritual journey when the pain, the confusion, and the chaos seem unbearable. You cry out to the sky, to God, to your guides, and you ask, why me? But the real question is, why not you? You were not chosen because you were weak. You were chosen because your spirit carries something ancient, something rare, something powerful. The dark spirit tests you because it knows what you are becoming and it fears it. Not because you are perfect, but because you are awakening. And an awakened soul is the most dangerous thing to darkness. You see, spiritual warfare is never about defeating darkness. It is about remembering your light. You don't fight darkness with more darkness. You don't match fear with fear. You transcend it. And when you truly remember who you are, when you embody your divine essence, darkness cannot touch you. It may try to distract you. It may try to delay you. But it cannot destroy you, because spirit is eternal. The question is, have you truly remembered who you are beneath the illusions? When confusion clouds your mind, you don't panic. You pause. You understand that confusion is not the absence of truth, it is the death of illusion. And in that death, clarity is being born. You ask better questions. You stop chasing answers and start listening. You stop looking for signs and become the sign. Can you sit in the fog without rushing to escape, knowing that the fog is what reveals the mountain? When time starts to warp, speeding up, slowing down, you remember that time is not your enemy. The dark spirit wants you to feel like you're falling behind, like you're wasting your life. But the soul is never late. Divine timing is not something you control. It is something you align with. And the more you trust it, the more miracles unfold. Delay is not denial. Delay is preparation. What if everything you think you've lost is simply being rearranged for a higher purpose? When you experience spiritual fatigue, when your prayers feel hollow and your rituals feel robotic, you don't give up. You rest. You reconnect. You remember that even in stillness, you are growing. The dark spirit wants you to equate productivity with worthiness. But being is enough. Your existence is a prayer. Your breath is a chant. Your presence is a temple. So you stop trying to force enlightenment and start allowing grace. And when your dreams feel dead, when your passions fade and your vision dims, you light a candle in the dark. You speak life back into your purpose. You breathe new fire into old bones. Because your dream is not just about you, it is about the souls who will be set free because you chose to pursue it. The dark spirit attacks your dreams because it knows your dream is a portal to collective liberation. But what if your dream is the prayer someone else is waiting to see answered? When emotional chaos rages through your life, you don't suppress it. You alchemize it. You feel every feeling without judgment. Anger becomes fuel. Grief becomes wisdom. Fear becomes a doorway. You become emotionally intelligent, spiritually mature. You learn how to hold duality, joy and sorrow, peace and turmoil. You stop labeling emotions as good or bad, and you start honoring them as messengers. What if the chaos is not breaking you, but breaking you open? And when life feels meaningless, when the void swallows your purpose, you smile. Because you know the void is not the end, it is the beginning. Every mystic, every prophet, every awakened soul passed through the void. It is the womb of rebirth, the place where identity dies so that essence can emerge. You stop fearing emptiness and start trusting the silence. Because in the silence, you hear the voice of God not outside of you, but within you. Now let's flip the entire narrative. What if the dark spirit isn't here to defeat you, but to reveal you? What if every attack is a mirror, showing you where you still need to heal, where you still give your power away, where you still believe the lie of separation? What if the greatest enemy is not the dark spirit outside, but the dark thoughts you've accepted as yours? And once you recognize that, you reclaim your throne. You stop being a victim and start being a vessel. You start walking through life with spiritual authority. You speak with intention. You move with purpose. You pray not out of fear, but out of intimacy. You don't run from darkness, you enter it like a healer, with light pouring from your pores. You stop being afraid of being tested because you know every test is an opportunity for mastery. And mastery is not perfection. Mastery is presence. Mastery is choosing love again and again, even when fear is louder. And here's the most powerful truth of all. When you start living this way, the dark spirit loses interest because it can no longer manipulate you. It can no longer seduce you with lies. It can no longer distract you with noise. You become untouchable, not because you've escaped pain, but because you've become alchemically immune to it. You don't just survive the storm, you become the eye of it. Now, I want to give you a final set of spiritual weapons not made of steel, but of essence. The first is discernment. Learn to distinguish between the voice of your soul and the voice of fear. The second is devotion, not to any religion, but to your soul's evolution. The third is stillness, because in stillness, you become a conduit for divine intelligence. The fourth is community, walk with others who carry light. And the fifth is truth, speak it, live it, embody it, no matter how uncomfortable. Truth is what dismantles the dark. Truth is what sets you free. But truth requires courage. And courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to be ruled by it. So I leave you with this. The next time you feel the signs, the next time you sense the shadow, don't collapse. Expand. Don't run. Remember, don't curse the test. Thank it. Because you are not being punished. You are being initiated. And the soul that emerges from this fire will not just be healed, it will be holy. You are not just a light in the dark. You are the light that darkness fears. And now, the test has become your testimony.